Hello, everybody out there in streaming land and video land and Skyping land or whatever way you're joining us. This is the National Poor People's Campaign, Moral Monday March on McConnell to challenge his meanness, his mayhem, and the misery that he is calling. We're focused hard on McConnell. We can't let him off, y'all. We cannot let McConnell off. He's been hiding too long. He's been in the back too long. But if we want to really deal with these issues, we have to recognize that what McConnell has done. In fact, in a moment, I'm going to actually give you the number of days, it's being calculated right now, that McConnell has blocked fixing the Voting Rights Act. And you want to talk about racism, but also McConnell is sitting on bills that would have provided living wages long before right now. He's sitting on bills that would have provided universal health care long before now. And listen, we learned something in the country. I'm gonna talk like I talk down home, that there's a dead cat on the line somewhere. That means somebody's not dealing right. All this distraction you house with people who are making can pay $335,000 a year to be at that golf club, applauding him cutting money for low-income people. That's distraction, y'all. All these executive orders, that's distraction. The driver's seat in all of this is McConnell. McConnell, the Senate leader. If he wanted, in the first three bills, he could have made sure that people had health care, they had sick leave, they had unemployment, they had said he wanted the money to go to corporations. So what happened? 83% of all the money went to corporations and not to the people who were struggling. Three bills, 83% to corporations. He agreed to a few things, but the majority of that money. When the Fed chief gave $1.5 trillion to corporations without even going through Congress, just did it one night over a 48-hour period. If he hadn't talked to McConnell, that could have never happened. If that had been a Democratic a Fed chief or president, there would have been all kinds of stuff raised by the Senate. But McConnell said that. Why? Because while we were looking at that, while he was doing that, we were looking at Trump, and while Trump was doing his antics, we were also being misguided, because what was McConnell doing? Giving money to corporations, stacking the court. Say that with me. Giving money to corporations, stacking the court. Say that with me. Giving money to corporations, stacking the court. That's what he's been doing. That's what he's been doing. And now in the midst of this, we need a fourth bill. And what did he say? Until I can guarantee that corporations that sent people in lethal, but this is what he, in essence, was doing. He said, I want translation from the street. That means if somebody died because the corporation didn't do what they were supposed to do, didn't protect them, they got sick, they weren't protected, he wants the people not to be able to sue them in court. I don't even know if he can do that legislatively without the courts challenging it. But the fact is that he would say that out front to the media. To the media. And now what do we have? From over 80 days, the bill. And it wasn't even a bill that the Poor People's Campaign fully wanted. We see, first of all, even the bill that the House passed is compromised. Don't get fooled by this language. The bill is already a compromised bill. And if we don't do at least this $3.5 trillion, we'll be right back here in November, right back here in December. But McConnell has been holding it up. Then Trump tries to stick in, do an end run, act like he's doing something. McConnell is the one. For all these days, he could have passed. We could have the $600. We could have the stimulus. We could have the minimal things, the compromise things. And even the $600, remember what he suggested? $600, they're not going to be going to work. That's a racist thing. People and poor people are just lazy anyway, and brown people are lazy anyway. If you give them too much unemployment, they'll stay home and will not work. That's old game. That's old game, you all. There's nothing new to this. But it's also ugly in the midst of holding out. People don't want to go to work because they're not being protected. They don't have the PPEs. And if he had pushed for that and because they've not given us. Let's not be fooled. McConnell is at the center of all of this misery, this mayhem, and his meanness. It's just outright meanness. And so we want you to call everybody you know, text everybody you know, tweet everybody you know. Last week, 165,000 of you came on to try to call. We put in so many calls in 45 minutes, over 8,000 calls, that it shut down everything he had. Somebody said, well, they're not in the Senate today, but his office is there, and his office in Kentucky is there. And guess what? He'll know that we called in. So we need you to get people online. It's going to be right on the screen. And it'll do everything you need to do to call in, or you can go. I hope I get this right, Rob. The Poor People's Fashion sit-in with a new Jack City twist. It's called National Moral Monday on McConnell. That's Dr. Y'all get ready to send them to Alvin Jackson. He is the executive director of the Mass Poor People's Assembly. Barber on Washington, D.C. But to be quite honest, this is serious business. I'm laughing because when I laugh, actually when I'm mad and I start laughing, you really need to be careful. No, I'm not talking, but when I kind of start chuckling and I'm upset, I'm really about ticked off at you. And I really am ticked off to think about all the in his own state. And we got some people from Kentucky that's going to talk about in his own state and what he's doing from Kentucky to hurt people all over the nation. But before we get into that, we want you again to look on that screen, because we need to be letting people know, telling them to tune in. We'll just be here an hour and a half, but the calls will keep on and keep on and keep on. But we're going to be here about an hour and a half. Let people know it's time for National Moral Monday on McConnell to call in and digitally sit in to challenge his meanness, his mayhem, and his misery, and to tell everybody on. Somebody said, well, are you going to tell us not to vote for him? I'm just going to tell him what you're doing. I'm going to tell him what he's doing. We're going to tell what he's doing. And you have to make your decision. And I know you got real good sense if you really know what's going on. But before that, we always want to highlight the people who are being hurt. And so we got a video for you. It's real, y'all. Sometimes it'll make you want to cry, but most of all, it'll make you want to fight. It'll make you want to drop that video if you can right now. We'll be back at you in a minute.
I worked 41 years in the coal mines. I have black lung, and it's just unfathomable what these poor coal miners have to go through in order to get what they have worked for and deserve.
At one time, poverty was a temporary condition. You were on a down slope for a minute, but you could bounce back up. We can't going back to the factory and building cars and trucks like we once did.
A job working at McDonald's or the grocery store doesn't pay enough for one person to live.
We work a 40-hour work week, still not enough. Living from paycheck to paycheck. Rent is $600 a month. We got water bill, electricity. I do this for my kids, and it hurts.
I'm 46 years old. I've lived in poverty here in West Virginia every day of my life. And I'm working. I am a working poor with a bachelor's degree. I'm doing the best I can with what I have.
We were in the height of mass water shutoffs. This entire neighborhood was shut off all at one time.
I saw all my neighbors get shut off right in front of me. It was kind of terrifying.
I'm 42 years old, and I'm a cashier at McDonald's. I had lost my house. You're welcome to come inside. There's a lot of people that are living in their cars. You never notice until you're in the same situation.
I have stuff to give my children. I'm paying all these bills, and they need school clothes and stuff, and they be asking me for, I can't give it to them.
Now I'm a Kansas farmer's wife. Kansas farmers are committing suicide. Why? They're usually in debt up to their eyeballs.
I see poverty in my own community. You know, there's a 70% unemployment rate in the reservation right now.
Here in New York City, we're home to millionaires and billionaires, and we have so many people living in the street, and that's just not right.
I've been a homeless veteran twice, lived in a shelter.
I've been living down here since I was 17. My only chance of going to college was joining the Army. We are demanding that we stop the war on our poor.
700,000 people in this country are on the verge of losing their food stamps.
This budget calls for shrinking the social safety net programs like Medicare.
I just know that everything that's happening to us isn't right.
I'm in stage 5 of kidney disease. I fell behind on my health care, and they canceled my health insurance, and they told me I have to wait until open enrollment. There's only 5 stages of kidney disease, and I'm in the 5th stage. Murder, it's murder. You know, if you ask me, it's murder.
I lost a son to gun violence, and I lost a daughter.
No parent should have, in America, should have to bury their child for lack of medical intervention. I'm wailing because my children.
My God, Kevin.
I'm well. I'm wailing, y'all. Wailing. Because my babies ain't no more. How many more babies? How many more children? No more.
And who work. Surely the rest of us should be standing with them and fighting back. You know, that's mayhem and meanness, and man is caused by policy. That's not, what you saw is not inevitable pain. Campaign.org, and it'll pop right up. Call your neighbors, tweet your neighbors, email them, Instagram them, do whatever you have to do, but let's send thousands upon thousands upon thousands of.
Thank you, Reverend Barber. We're having some trouble with your audio. So, Reverend Liz, we're going to bring you on as we try to workshop that.
To everyone for joining us. The power.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, does that mean that? Okay, I want you to come on and just share what you said. Maybe talk some even about this powerful report we showed up, and then I know we're a little bit behind time, so this is to you right now.
Right. Yeah. So it's good to have folk here, and I wanted to start with some words from Jeremiah 22. This is what the Lord says. Do what is just and right. Rescue from the hand of the oppressor the one who has been robbed. Do no wrong or violence to the immigrant, the homeless, the children or mothers, and do not shed innocent blood in this place. As Reverend Barber was talking about, if we read the headlines from the past few days, here in the richest nation in human history, yet because of the misleadership of this nation, led by Senator Mitch McConnell, taking a pause from passing a stimulus package that would extend unemployment benefits, refusing to expand health care in a public health crisis, threatening Social Security and other programs of social uplift, and trying to reopen schools, putting the lives of our children in danger just to bolster corporate profits and the wealthy. Now, there are 100,000 children sick with COVID. Our economy has shrunk by 1/3 in 4 months, the biggest drop in U.S. history that will lead to homelessness and poverty hardship, while billionaires in that same time have made $600 billion. Jeremiah said to stop the violence, to do no wrong to the poor. But 100,000 kids sick is shedding innocent blood. Failing to stop evictions and extend unemployment is surely doing wrong. This administration's response to this pandemic, to the pandemics of racism and poverty that predated COVID, is violence. And so indeed, as you were saying, Reverend Barber, we are putting out a powerful study that says that poor people, when we come together around an agenda for healthcare, an agenda for living wages, an agenda for quality education, an agenda that put the poor and the homeless and the children and the marginalized at the front of our nation's priorities, we are able to change this entire nation's political landscape. That poor and low-income people have a power. And we're flexing that muscle today as we call McConnell's offices, and we're flexing that muscle as we organize and mobilize and register and educate people for a movement that votes. And so we do have a lot of people to listen to, folks that are on the front lines of this crisis, who are fighting and pushing and shifting this narrative and building power so that we can enact the agenda that we know can be done. Poverty can end. Racism can be history. We can save this earth, stop all of these weather disasters, and we could have a peace economy, not this war economy, and not a militarized communities to community. But we must come together, unite with teachers and low-wage workers and nurses and people of all walks of life. And that's what we're doing in the Poor People's Campaign. That's what we're doing on this Moral Monday. And that's what we'll do as we move into November. And so it's great to be here. People better call in. We got to make our voices heard. And we must always, in the words of the Forward Together Moral Mondays movement out of North Carolina, move forward together and not one step back.
And that's all right, Liz, and we can do these things, but it has to be a matter of public policy, and you have to challenge those who have the power. We're going to talk about that power that a Senate Majority Leader has, and he can't just escape. He can't just get along and go along like nothing's going on. And so we're calling today to say, yeah, those things can happen. He has to change, either his position or change in other ways. But we cannot be silent on these matters. We cannot let this man hold hostage, because he's holding hostage right now an already compromised bill called the Heroes Bill. Teachers are suffering, municipalities are suffering. We got 30 million people in unemployment that are suffering. They're not getting that basic $600 extra. We have 27 million more people added to the already 87 million people uninsured and underinsured. Millions, I'm talking about in the tens of millions of people who are hungry and food insecure. Upwards of 40 million people face eviction. It's too much power for just one man to be able to block all of those bills and hold those things from happening. And then, but you know what he wants, Liz. Now the man said, look, but this is what he wants. He wants another $200+ billion tax cut. He wants to make sure that companies have liability and they can't, are protected from liability. He wants another 20-some billion dollars, almost $30 billion for the military they haven't even asked for. And he knows that already the greedy and the wealthy have made over $755 billion during the pandemic and growing. And so that's why on this Moral Monday, National Moral Monday March on McConnell, we're calling you to sit in by calling in. Sit in by calling in, and to tell everybody you know to call in. And in a moment, Rob, I want you to tell me how many people are on. I'm going to ask for it in a minute. Before we go there, let me tell you who is on. We're going to talk for a moment to Jamie Jenkins, and we're going to talk to Jamie. He's from Kentucky. We also got Pam, our national, one of our co-tri-chairs in Kentucky is on, and Tanya is also on. You know, they're on the cheerleading section, just in case. Well, I shouldn't say the cheerleading section. What they're on is the fighting section. They, you know, you tag and say you're it. They'll come in and continue the battle. But we're going to hear from Jamie. Then we're going to hear from Leslie Jones, who's in Georgia trying to raise grandchildren. She has a pre-K granddaughter who has leukemia and 2 older children who are now supposed to go back to school. And she's scared for their health and for her own. And she's going to tell us the truth from that perspective. And that you need to hear it. And it needs to make you move, because she needs you to jam McConnell and say, stop this foolishness, and let's do what's right by all the people. Then we're going to have our dear sister warrior, Randy Weingart. But before we get there, Jamie, you right there in Kentucky. You know what's going on in Kentucky. You know, I heard some people say, you know, course, you can get it anywhere like Fox News or something. They say McConnell's great for Kentucky. They say McConnell's doing a great job, that he's really, really, really helping people, and he should be fighting what he's fighting for, more money to corporations. But what do you say, Jamie? What do you say, Brother Jenkins, to people all over this country? Is Jamie on? While we're waiting to get him, Pam, what do you say? I see while Jamie is coming on. And Jamie, when you come on, just say I'm on. Pam, talk to us about this senator from Kentucky. Should we be doing what we're doing today? You've been out here a while. I'm not going to call your age, but you've been out here a while.
You can call it Reverend Barber. I'm just fine with that. Reverend Barber, Reverend Liz, thank you for being out there and calling attention to this madness and mayhem and misery. And I guess one thing I would say, if McConnell's going to quibble over $600, if he thinks $600 in unemployment is going to make people stay home, then we have been underpaying people way too much for way too long. People haven't made enough to start with for way too long. We know it's a ruse, but even as a ruse, his line on that is just full of holes, because we don't pay people enough and to start with, and just putting more money in the pockets of the rich. He's trying the hypocrisy just makes you want to throw up, and how to call ourselves a democracy, and then the way he sets on legislation and how they go about bragging about voter suppression like it's a tactic, and they're just discussing the time of day. So we're fighting back in Kentucky from people in West Louisville, which is predominantly African American, and people in the coal fields, which is predominantly white. People of color live everywhere, but predominantly those communities. We have more in common with each other and being left out. And so Tana will talk more about this, I'm sure, but from the holler to the hood, we're organizing in Kentucky, and McConnell is not good for Kentucky. He's not good for this country, and he does not care about people.
You can see that in public. Leslie, Jamie, are you on yet? I'm just double checking. Because Pam, somebody said, we were talking last week, and somebody sent me a note, and they said, but your tone is so strong. Can't you talk nicer? I want to ask you, are the people in the house, right, hurting, is that tone nice? I mean, should we have to say it nice? And if you say it nice, does he get any better? I mean, I think our tone is just telling the truth. If you're stepping on my foot, if you're hurting my children, if you're causing me to have to face death because you won't do the right thing, I should be loud. There's nothing wrong being loud. What's wrong is being loud and wrong. But when you're loud and right, but what do you say about the tone? What's the tone of folk who are hurting in Kentucky? Are they cool? Are they all right? Or are they upset?
They're upset, and we're upset about being, like he cares more about buildings. His budget will take care of buildings, but his budget doesn't take care of people. And people are fired up, and people care about each other, and people are taking care of each other as best we can. But we need these systems to change. It's our responsibility to take care of each other, and these systems are hurting way too many people. And it's wrong to put this kind of nice, say, be nice. Well, violence in when you let somebody die for lack of health care, or you let somebody die because they're hungry or they can't afford their medicine, they don't have a home because they can't, that's violence, that's evil.
That's right. Well, I have to tell, love does not mean you're passive. In fact, real true love, if you truly love somebody, you'll be emotional about it. You get all moved by it. And if you see somebody that's in trouble that you love, you will come to them. I remember my mother when I was young, and one day I was almost about to walk in the street in front of a car. She loved me. She didn't say, now, Billy, will you please not go in the street? She said, boy, stop! And I appreciate my mama for doing that, because out of deep love, the way she said it caused me to stop in my tracks. Otherwise, I probably would have walked right in front of that car and been killed. And in a real sense, it's because we love America that, like the prophets, we say, whoa, stop. This makes no sense. This is wrong. This is unjust. This is mean. This is miserable. It doesn't have to be this way. Our voices, our mind, the tone of our movement is because of the depth of our love and the depth of our commitment to truth and justice. Well, I don't hear right now, Brother Jamie is coming back on. We'll try to get him back before the end of the program. But Leslie, I want to come straight to Georgia before I go to Sister Weingarten. Leslie, first of all, you know, I'm just sitting here, my sister, and praying with you. And
it sounds like you're unmuted.
I'm just thinking about raising grandchildren, and then you got this pre-K daughter who has leukemia. And I know the battle. I've been through that battle with members of my church. And first of all, our prayers go out to you. But sister, there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people home. And they have the power to call the McConnell and say, at least do right, you know, in this bill and make sure and stop hurting people and stop making it so these schools have to reopen wrongfully. First of all, he should be speaking out against school reopenings. And then if the schools are going to be reopened, he should be the first one making sure that the money is there to retrofit the schools and fix things so that teachers and students are protected. But Leslie, speak your truth and tell why you're on this call and why you're saying to folk to join this sit-in, this call-in to McConnell. I think you're on mute, Leslie. We'll give you time.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
You can?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you well.
Okay.
We can hear you well.
Great. Thank you. I just want to say, first of all, thank you for the invite to speak from you to you, Reverend Barber, and from Danielle. And I just want to say that my 3 grandchildren will not be attending school this fall in Atlanta Public Schools. Like I said, I have 1 granddaughter. She's in remission now, thank God. But yes, her mother has decided to leave her home for this year, and the other 2 will be virtual, online. So, you know, that wasn't even something we had to pander over. Mm-hmm. You know, that was a decision that was made from the new superintendent and from Ms. Bottoms, Mayor Bottoms. So, you know, I'm just thankful for, you know, the opportunity for them to probably get measures in place to reopen schools, but I knew it won't be anytime soon. You know, measures from what I'm looking at online with the Atlanta Public Schools, there's nothing in place for children with underlying health conditions as my granddaughter has. So, you know, until that, you know, they figure out, you know, how to keep and open schools safely, then they will be at home, you know, for the time being.
And you made that decision in help with the superintendent, the mayor. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that Trump and McConnell ought to be saying the same thing, the superintendent and the mayor, rather than trying to force people? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Instead of going against our mayor, they should, you know, come together and, you know, make a decision and keep these schools closed until this COVID thing is, you know, done with, because it's very, very unhealthy to open schools, and, you know, they don't have measures in place. Like, say they have hand sanitizer, and they're doing everything to sanitize, you know, the whole building, but that's still not enough. You know, just like the school in Paulding County here, where you have 9 students that were diagnosed with COVID after reopening from last week. And, you know, we can't take that chance. Parents, we just cannot.
And as a parent, you're a parent and a grandparent.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you a question. I haven't asked you this before, because there are some people that are trying to pit the parents against the teachers. When the teachers say they're going to protest, they're not going back because the schools are not safe. And the teachers are saying, we would go back, but we want the schools to be safe for us and for our children. Are you a parent standing with the teachers?
I'm standing with the teachers.
Okay. Y'all hear that in America? Don't believe that mess when they're trying to put the parents against the teachers. That's not really what's going on. And the fact of the matter is, you know, if Trump and McConnell had really focused when this thing started in March and used the summer to provide the money and the resources and the retrofit, we might be able to go back.
Absolutely.
But instead, Trump spent the summer denying, and McConnell spent the summer lying, and now we're in a mess. You know, denying and lying. Denying Trump said it wasn't real. McConnell lying and saying we don't really need $600. We don't really need the money. We don't really need that. What we need is to protect corporations from liability. And because of that, we're in the mess we're in now. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for coming on all the way from Georgia. Give your love to your grandchildren, to that daughter who's in remission. We thank God, and we thank God for that healing in her life. And look, stand strong. You and the other parents down there. Because I heard in Georgia, you all know how to stand up for what's right. That's what I heard.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We do.
Did I hear right? Okay.
We do.
So this if you don't know, now you know.
That's right.
That's right. All right. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much. Yeah, what's happening, Rob? Tell me what's going on.
We got Jamie here.
Jamie, my man. You ready, Jamie?
Yep, go ahead, Jamie.
Look, I need to know, Jamie, if McConnell is good for the nation or bad. Talk to us.
Yeah, like I said, he turned his back on us, man. I had to fight for my unemployment. You know what I'm saying? I've been fighting since March. You know, they give us a stimulus check down here. They said they took my stimulus check for child support because I'm behind in that. I got a whole lot of other things. We can't even get the housing for the people down here. We hurting for real. You know, I've been fighting for my unemployment since March. Every time I call, I never spoke to a human. They call me on Sundays only.
My God. Now, you're from Kentucky, and you got behind on one thing because the job closed down and they haven't provided what's needed to protect the job, and then they took the stimulus, and you say you've been fighting for unemployment since March, and you're from Kentucky, and he's turned his back on you. Am I right?
Yes, sir. I'm from Kentucky.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Now, Jamie, I hate to ask you this, but you know, it's like when you go to the doctor's office, the doctor asks you what's wrong, because in order to figure out something. Now, according to McConnell, you all take the unemployment and just stay home and you don't want to work. That's what he said. Now, I didn't say that. Don't get mad with me. But that's what the kind of lies he's been telling. That, you know, we need to just stop all this unemployment. People don't need about $200 anyway, and if we pay them that, then they'll hurry up and go back to work, because the reason they're not going back to work is because we're giving them so much unemployment. They just have so much money to do, so much money to use, and so much time on the hand and just be cool. Is that really what's going on in Kentucky?
Jamie, you hear that?
He might be in a bad area.
We may have gotten the best we could do.
Yeah. Jamie?
I think we lost him, but I think Jamie, he thinks that reality that we have, we have really unemployed, but we have tons that never got the employment in the first place, that got gummed up in these systems that were already, not working for people. I mean, McConnell's just making.
That's right. And even if they pass some more compromised bill, we're going to be right back here next Monday the next, because there's so many other problems. I mean, there's a whole group of people, restaurant workers, that haven't even been eligible for unemployment. I mean, we're not going to stop telling the truth on this matter. We need you to do it. Kentuckians, we need you to really be hitting these lines right now hard, and then all over the nation. The action screen is on the screen, or you can go to www.poorpeoplescampaign.org and it'll pop right up. Rob, give me some numbers that's out there that's tuned in today.
So we have thousands of people that are watching right now. Earlier we had about 4,000 on Facebook, 1,000 on YouTube. So we want people to go to the bottom of their screen and right now go ahead and share that out. We've already shut down both DC offices of McConnell's. Somehow, I don't know where they went, but they got tired of us real quick. So last time I checked, we were in Louisville. And
That's shut down.
Okay, Louisville.
Louisville shut down. All right, keep calling, y'all.
And Lexington.
And Lexington. All right.
So we're going to Bowling Green and some other places now, but we want people to keep on calling in. Even at after 5, we'll go to the Central Time location to keep going.
Don't quit. Don't quit. And share this so 1,000 more can come on. This is the old time to sit in with a new Jack City twist. It's called Tomorrow Monday March on McConnell's Mayhem Misery and Meanness right here with the Poor People's Campaign.org. Now we want to go to this sister, this bad sister, y'all. I think she has a parent with her. I've marched with Randy Ungard. I've stood with her, fought with her. Liz has met with her. The teachers, AFT, they got this vision early on, and they've been on the battlefield for and I just thank God for her. Randy, we want you to come on and talk for a minute about why people really need to be pushing hard on McConnell and calling in, and why we need a full bill, why we need, even in the compromise, I said this bill, we need it. We don't need the cuts. We need the teachers to be taken care of. We need the municipalities. We need the unemployment. We need all of that. And why we know that we are not going to separate teachers from parents, but we're all fighting together. Randy, you on the line?
Yep, I am. Can you hear me, Rev?
I can. Forgive me for being a little bit 5 minutes over, but we do with us
Not
now.
a problem. It's that kind of day. So look, let me just say, I so appreciate you, Bishop, and I so appreciate you, Reverend. And, I'm gonna, and as both of you know, I am married to a rabbi, so I feel like I am with holiness today. But you are creating a very holy vision. And by saying what you just said before about the lies from McConnell and the denials from Trump, we know, and I was listening through to Leslie and to others, we know that kids need schools right now. And in fact, if we had fought the virus the way European countries have fought the virus, the way Germany has fought the virus, the way Norway has fought the virus, the way Denmark has fought the virus, we'd have kids in schools right now because we would have tackled the virus in so many different places. We would have had less than 1% community spread. And then we would have been able to do the kind of testing and tracing and safeguards that were necessary and the guardrails in schools so that Leslie wouldn't be concerned. There wouldn't be a fight between Mayor Bottoms in Atlanta and the governor about whether or not there should be mandatory masks. There would have been the resources that, and you're right, the HEROES Act is not perfect, but it created the kind of unemployment extension. It created the money for schools to pay for PPE like masks and face shields. It created the money for ventilation systems because we have so many old buildings. We would have been able to figure this out. And frankly, our union started doing this in April. We put out a document in April that said, how do you reopen schools? And we laid all of this out, including tackling community spread, having the testing, marrying these kind of public health tools that every epidemiologist and virologist and infectious disease doctor and pediatrician say is important, but also the money, that parents and teachers were together.
Let me ask this question though. Wait a minute, I want folks to hear that. I want people to hear that. You mean to tell me that AFT sent out Trump to McConnell to all of them a plan before we got here early in the spring to say this is what we need, and they didn't act on the plan, and now they want to blame teachers? I need to show that plan. Because I mean, I knew you had something, but
we had that plan. Here's one copy of it. I got lots of copies of it. It's on the AFT website. You just go to AFT.org. We sent it out to millions of people in April, April 29th.
In April.
April
and this
29th.
Is August. Okay, May, June, July, August. That's 4 months, 5 months. You told them what you would need, and you did it not just as teachers in the union, but you got epidemiologists, you got people who noticed, and it was ignored. Basically.
Ignored.
By Trump and McConnell.
Worse. It was worse than ignored.
Okay.
Because
talk to us about that.
Because look what Betsy DeVos and Donald Trump did in July. They actually did worse. Because if they just ignored it, then maybe states would have done the right thing. But what they did instead was they pretended that COVID doesn't exist, which is one of the reasons why we are suing in Florida to stop them from opening schools, because their acolyte, Ron DeSantis, pretends it doesn't exist. The Mississippi governor pretends it doesn't exist. So what's happened is that people say, wait a second, COVID can actually hurt children. As you said, Bishop, 97,000 children were infected with COVID in the last 2 weeks of July. And yet Trump and DeVos pretend that children can't get COVID. So it's worse than ignoring.
It's worse.
They actually misrepresent.
Now, since we're focused on McConnell, there is nothing in the law that makes it that McConnell, as a majority leader, could not have took your plan, turned it into law, and voted on it, and said, this is what we will fund. And there's not, they could have done that, but he didn't do that. And McConnell, go ahead.
And in fact, it's not as if they didn't know. There have been thousands and thousands of phone calls and letters that have been sent to McConnell and to Republicans talking about what was needed to do all of this.
Yeah, that's the point we want to drive home, because, see, people have been giving him such a pass. The reality is, I do not believe that if McConnell, as the majority leader and the power of a Senate minority leader, had said, listen, the teachers want to do right, they've got the science, they know how to do this, our Senate caucus, I'm going to unite the Senate, Democrat and Republican, and we're going to stand with the teachers and the parents, that the White House, the governors, and others would not have come along. But because they have either been quiet or have been partners in the denial and in the lying, it has actually put our children and our teachers at risk. And we're not just talking about risk like you might scrape your elbow, which you expect when a kid goes to school. We're not talking about risk that a teacher might catch a common cold, which teachers do all the time when they're around children. We're literally talking about the risk of death.
Correct.
And spreading death.
And when you see that picture from Georgia of hundreds of kids walking through that hallway, knowing full well that that without anyone wearing a mask, you know that they are directly jeopardizing kids. It's as if we are back to Darwin's time and to the Scopes trials of science not being relevant or important in these United States of America. We know, as you have said so often, that the poor never get the equality or the opportunity that they should. Schooling is the way of doing it, but schooling should not be about jeopardizing health. Schooling should be opportunity. And so what McConnell has done here is criminal by not giving the funding that is needed. Even he understood that funding was needed. They tried to match what was in the HEROES Act in terms of dollar amount of $100 billion, but they never went forward to meaningfully negotiate it. They need to meaningfully negotiate that money so that kids can have a decent education.
I think it's really important what you're...
We got 30 seconds. Liz, we got 30 seconds. I'm coming to you. Said I want to come straight to you to respond to Randy.
Great. I mean, I just think it's really important for us to actually point out who is responsible for this, right? That as Randy said, we could have, if we were serious about opening schools, if we were serious about protecting the lives of our kids, if we were serious about wanting everybody to have opportunity and education, we could have done it. And so we need to show that McConnell does not care about children. He does not care about education. And then we got to act, and we got to call his offices right now. So I hope people are calling and calling and calling and telling him that it is absolutely it's immoral to be putting our children in harm's way, putting our teachers, our families in harm's way, which is exactly what he is doing.
And you know, Liz and Randy, you're so powerful in what you're saying, and we have got to get folk. We need you to register all over this country. We need you to register and vote. We just released a study this morning that said in 15 states, and even in Kentucky, the poor, voters who are eligible, who have not voted, can fundamentally shift the election. We need you to register, vote. We need you to do the census. But right now, we need you to jam these calls. If it wasn't for COVID, we would have filled up the U.S. Senate building. We would be sitting in the hallways and sitting in the street. We don't want to put people at risk that way, but we can, in fact, call and jam these lines And believe you me, they get the message. They are getting the message. We've got intel that says they are very much getting the message. And then if you do this today, then when you get off this call, get as many folks as you can to let them know we cannot just keep our eyes on Trump. We got to focus on McConnell. We got to push him. We got to register to vote. We have to be engaged, because one African proverb says, if you want to know how a country is, ask how are the children. Ask that question, how are the children? And the children are not well, particularly the poor children, the low-income children, and children in public education. They are not well. The boss, as Randy said, and Trump and McConnell has spent more time trying to undercut resources for the poor, for public schools, than they have tried to fix this problem so that our people can go back. Now, Randy has a teacher on from Florida, and we want to hear from that teacher right now from Florida. And then right after that, we're going to go straight into either Phyllis Bennett or John Kavanaugh, and then we're going to come back, and Yara's going to sing just a bit to call us to this moment, and then we got 3 special guests we're going to go to. But our brother teacher from Florida, talk to us from Florida, the battle you're in, and why people on this call that have joined today, Monday March on McConnell's meanness, mayhem, and misery, should be calling and jamming him and demanding that this not be the case in our country. Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. If you care anything about students, if you care anything about, kids, even if you don't have kids in the school system, but you like the kid that lives down the block, then we need your help. We can't do it by ourselves. We need you to let people know what's really going on. And teachers, we get the same rap about those unemployment lies. Oh, teachers don't want to go back to school. No, that's not the case. We love our kids. We want the best for our kids. We want our kids to do better than we've done. But we want to do all that safely. We want to make sure the kids are okay, the families are okay, our families and their families. We want to make sure our community is safe. And they're not putting in place the guidelines that we need, that the CDC originally came up with, that would help us be safe and teach our children. So that's why we need your help. We need y'all to shut Mr. McConnell down. Like you said, one man cannot stand in the gap and hold up the whole government. And that is exactly what he's doing.
You're right, man. If a teacher in a classroom would put children at harm's risk, like McConnell is putting children at risk by pushing and holding a back up, that teacher would be in jail.
Yep.
They would come and drag that teacher out of the courtroom and file charges against them for abusing children.
Yep.
If somebody did this to teachers, if you harmed a teacher, just went up and just harmed them and made them have to go to the hospital when it didn't have to be that way, they would charge you with assault. In a real sense, we are seeing a kind of public policy assault, public policy violence, and when people die, public policy murder. Randy, look, we got some more people on, but we're always together, and we want to thank you so much, sister. God knows you inspire us. We've been together for a long time, sister, fighting, and we got Reverend Liz, and we're going to stay with it. We're going to fight now. We're going to fight through this election. We're going to vote like never before, and we're going to fight after this election, because there's some things, if the power shifts, we got to get finished so we don't have to deal with this anymore. Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All over the country, y'all thanking for President Randy Weingart of AFT and my brother who's down in Florida. Now, look, I got to switch it up just a little bit. Hold tight, Phyllis. Hold tight, John, because I got a brother who's got a roll at 5 o'clock, but y'all want to hear this brother because now he's straight talk. He's about it. He knows what's going on. His name is Roland Martin. And he's just going to come on like just real straight. He's a Texas man, so he just tells us straight why here and all of his followers and all of us need to be jamming McConnell and need to keep our eye there and need to understand what this man is doing and why we cannot take our eye off him as majority leader. Roland, you're up, man.
Reverend Barber, still appreciate it. We just lost Congressman John Lewis. We lost Reverend C.T. Vivian the same day, and in March we lost, of course, Reverend Joseph Lowry. And of course, we obviously celebrated their life and legacy. But I think what people forget, they forget that it was ordinary people who did extraordinary things. It was people we never talk about. It was people whose names never come up. It was people who were going to work every single day, who had children, who were worried about their bills, who were concerned about whether or not they're going to be able to take care of their families. And you're listening to folks, everybody who's watching this, you're listening to generals, you're listening to admirals, you're listening to colonels, you're listening to leaders. But you cannot win any battle unless you have soldiers.
That's it.
Soldiers are the ones who, after the generals have gotten together and they've laid the battle plans, the soldiers are the ones who are going to be doing the battle. And everybody who's watching has to understand that there's not been a single major event in the history of this country, especially that Black folks have gotten, that did not involve extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. We got to have folk who are out there, and you might say, man, bro, I don't have any power. Y'all need to understand, I hear that all the time. Before COVID, I would be on planes, and folks would say, man, I want to do something, but I have no power. But the reality is here. Your email is power. Your phone call is power. Your tweet is power. Your post is power. You asking 5 people in your family, are they registered, is power. And so untapped power means nothing will ever change. Trust me, there was some broke folk, poor people who never got past the 3rd grade in Alabama who said, I don't think anything is going to change. But it was others who said, but if we actually mobilize and organize, it will change. And so I'll tell you this here. When I launched my digital show, people told me, man, that thing is not going to work. Well, guess what? We went from 157,000 to 600,000 subscribers in 23 months. We've been in the black the whole time. Why am I saying that? Because if I never built it, then folk would never be able to see it. And so every person watching has to step up and get involved in this, because your future, and more importantly, the actions you take today will impact your children's children's children. This ain't a present day thing. This is a legacy thing. And that has to be top of mind.
Well, you know, Roland, we had somebody, a conversation, and somebody said, well, if you call them, they're not going to change. That's not the point. You know they're not going to change if you don't challenge them. But you challenge them, you lay down the record, and you don't stop there. Then you go to the polls, and you don't stop there. You push them out, whoever gets it there. Right.
When C.T. Vivian got punched in the nose, he knew they couldn't vote that day. Right. He understood, I'm going to come. And then when Jim Clark knocked him on the ground, he got right back up, with blood coming down, and stayed in his face. That's the only way it's going to work. You do not win a battle on the first day. You got to keep going at them. They got to feel that pressure. They got to feel that heat. It has to be relentless every single day. That's how you get change.
Well, you know, we heard that, you know, you helped us a few months ago, a month or so ago. We had about 2.7 million people come on to the mass public protest. Some people said it couldn't happen. And we heard last week that folk were upset, McConnell and them, but they were upset, but they thought we would stop, wouldn't do it again. See, the thing about tomorrow Monday, once you stop, it's like locking in. It's like a bulldog, you know, Poor People's Campaign. What you're doing with your work is locking in. And I just thought of something real quick before you have to go. You remember in the civil rights movement, the teachers were doing some things, and they shut down the teachers. The children hit the streets.
That's right.
The children came out.
In fact, James Bevel called my Chicago radio show, and I'm going to tell you, he told me exactly what happened. Reverend King and others said, do not use the children. And King said, Bevel, you can go ahead and teach them. He was teaching the children every single day. Then they locked the school door. They put chains on the doors. The kids climb out the windows. When the adults, they put so many adults in prison, they were like, what do we do? King said the movement is we don't know what's about to happen. He said, James, unleash the children. And then when the children got unleashed, they didn't send all of them down one street. I stood there and they sent this group that direction, that direction, that direction. They had no idea what the hell was going on. They had just kids just go from all different directions. And they totally confused them. And when they hit them with the dogs and the fire hoses, that's when America said, don't do that to kids. And that's how it got changed. And so folk have to understand that's where power comes from, the ability to be able to use what you use. And if all you can do is yell, if all you can do is sing, if you can't, you got a walker and you can't get out there, but you can send an email or you can make a phone call, you do it. All of that combined adds to the pressure that you bring to bear on power.
That's right. And in this season, I'm hearing that there's some children, young folk that are saying now, we're going to organize, just like we organize against guns, we're going to organize and stay home. But you're not going to send us into lethal situations that you created, that you didn't change, that you didn't fix, and now you want us to go in with a lie about where we may not die, but then we come home and bring it to our grandpas and our grandmamas and our moms. And so this is actually a birthing moment. This is a moment where you have to, it's clear, you have to put up, shut up. It's our time to stand up. I think you and I have had this conversation. Every generation has its Edmund Pettus Bridge.
Everyone.
Every generation has one. And so we have to decide when this is ours and it's our time to stand up and not take no for an answer. And
this is the third Reconstruction. That's what this is.
We've been talking about it. Roland, thank you so much, man. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow on the show.
All right.
Take care. That's Roland Martin with us, and he's pushed it out for millions of people today. You push it out to many, many more, and let's continue to build. Go to that site that's on the screen right now, and go to www.poorpeoplescampaign.org. Sign up, call Mitch McConnell, jam the phone line, let him know we want a just and meaningful bill now. We want a just and meaningful and compassionate bill, comprehensive now. John, is it John or Phyllis? Because I got two questions for Phyllis. Phyllis, there you are. Hey, Phyllis. People sometimes when we're on these calls, they may say, well, somebody texts me back and said, but it's all of them. And I said, I know that. But there's a uniqueness about the Senate Majority Leader. There's a unique power in that position, the Senate Leader. And not the Minority Leader, but the Senate Leader. I need you to talk to folk a little bit about the kind of power that office holds and some of the ugly things that McConnell has done, not just recently, but the kinds of things he has done and the kinds of things he has literally been able to put in a drawer and lock it. And then we're going to play after you a little video where he called himself the Grim Reaper. Y'all make sure y'all got that ready to go because we're going to use it sometime today. But Phyllis, you're in D.C., you know the system, you've been there, you fought the system.
Yeah.
Tell folk out here, let them know what's going on.
Thanks, Reverend Barber. Reverend Liz, I'm delighted to be here with all of you. There's an outrage going on here. There's an outrage that one man has this much power. The White House and Mitch McConnell made a decision that they were not going to negotiate with the Democrats. And then the White House said, you know what? We don't think there should be any compromise at all. And we don't even think that you people who were elected in the Senate, you Republicans, we don't think you should be negotiating either. So you know what? We're done. You guys leave. We're going to negotiate with the Democrats and see what happens. They must be pressured to say enough. This is not okay. The Senate Majority Leader is not given the power in the Constitution to decide when and if things should be discussed. That belongs to the representatives of the people. That's the outrage that we're seeing right now. We need to pressure both the White House and Mitch McConnell to return to negotiations. These executive orders that Trump has been talking about, they are too small, he can't deliver, and they're probably unconstitutional. So let me just say a couple of things. One, when we look at what the Senate Majority Leader put forward when he was talking about, well, maybe we'll put together a plan for what we might give to people. Not much, but we'll give them a little bit. Hidden in that was $30 billion for the military. Right? Now, the last time I looked, paying for F-35 fighter bombers that the military doesn't even want does not feed people. It does not pay the rent for people who have lost their jobs. So this is what we are looking at. What happened to the unemployed? There's a myth in this country of scarcity. There's a myth that says there's not enough money. There is plenty of money. There's money for the corporations. 53 cents of every federal dollar is going to the military. There's plenty of money. That's not the problem. The problem is, what's it being used for? Is it being used for people, for humanity, or is it being used for corporate profits and military actions? That's the challenge that we have to look at. So when we look at what they're talking about using this money for, let's go through what we need. We need a congressional decision that Mitch McConnell right now is saying, nope, I'm not going to allow any discussion of it. That's not okay. People in Kentucky who elected him and people in the rest of the country who have to deal with him, that's why we're saying to call his office now and shut it down. We've got to shut down this notion that Mitch McConnell has the right to say, we're just not going to have any of these things that we know we need. So what do we need?
Let alone a bill. Let alone a bill. He said we're not even going to have a conversation.
We're not even going to have a conversation. But let's talk about a bill. You're right. What do we need in the bill? We need supplemental federal unemployment insurance at $600 a week. What did President Trump offer in his so-called executive order? First of all, he said, no, $600 a week is too much. We don't need to give people that. People aren't really in need. We'll just give them maybe $400, and we'll make the states pay a quarter of that. The problem is twofold. Number one, well, threefold. Number one, $400 isn't enough. $600 isn't either, but at least it gives people a fighting chance. Number two, the states are going bankrupt, half of them, and the half that are not going bankrupt are saying, you know what, we're not going to pay for this. It needs to come from the federal government. And problem number three, where's he saying he wants to get that money? He's saying, well, I'll take $44 billion that's from the disaster relief fund that's supposed to go for hurricanes. We already know from the last 3 weeks that this year is going to be one of the worst years for hurricanes ever. Do we want to get rid of all that money and not be able to help people that are facing hurricanes? This would be enough for only 5 weeks. You know, Reverend Liz, when we talk about this, we hear from McConnell, well, this would be enough money to pay for $400, at least $300 of it, to everybody who needs it for the rest of the year. Well, wrong. He's lying again. Lying McConnell. If everybody who needed it got even the $400, that would only last 5 weeks. That's not enough for people's lives. What else do we need in a bill? We need a full moratorium on evictions. So what is Trump giving us? He says, well, we're going to have an executive order. What's it going to say? Well, it's going to say that federal agencies, the CDC and Health and Human Services, should consider whether or not there needs to be a ban on evictions. No money for renters is being even talked about, but even a ban on evictions. So we're facing the possibility that in the next 2 weeks, we may see a housing crisis, people thrown out literally onto the streets with their families, with their children, with their elders, with nothing. Because there is nothing in this so-called executive order that gives any orders. It's merely a suggestion.
And Phyllis,
what else? Yeah.
Let me mention. And if you wanted to set up a reality where you could say there's a national emergency, therefore we can't have an election, what better way to set it up by having millions and millions of people on the street,
in the street,
out of their home? You see, we got to think about what's really being done here. Go ahead.
And what are the consequences of this? What are the consequences in the midst of a pandemic when we're warning people to stay at home? That's still the bottom line order. All the stuff about stay 6 feet away when you have to go out, wear a mask when you have to go out, but mostly don't go out. How can people do that if they have no home, if they have been thrown out of their home? What else do we need? We need a moratorium on student debt repayment. And what are we being offered? Well, Trump says maybe we would defer some of it till the end of the year, and then we'd have a big, giant balloon payment that we would owe. What we need is free college. What we need is debt cancellation. There was a bill calling for that Ilhan Omar and Bernie Sanders had put forward. That's not on the agenda because why? Mitch McConnell says that we're not going to have it. Now, those are just
we're not even going to talk about it.
We're not even going to talk about it.
I want folks to hear that. It's even worse than we're not going to vote on it. We're not going to talk about it.
And we need more than that, Reverend Barber. We need $25 billion at least to go to the post office without any preconditions, without any terms on what it can be used for. And we need to change this new just appointed post office director who is telling his workers, don't deliver the mail. Don't deliver the medicine that old people need that they're counting on. Don't deliver the packages that people are trying to order to get food because the terms in their supermarket are simply not safe. They're not being allowed to do their job. And they're talking about money that is desperately needed.
So let me ask you one question in this last 30 seconds, and I want you to go ahead and prepare, Liz, you and John to be back on next Monday, because we're going to run this down every time so people really get it. But in the midst of this, slow down the mail, kick people out on the street. And one stat came out, this is said, and 80% of those that could be hurt by not being able to pay the rent would be minorities, brown people, black people, and women. And then people forget this one, that McConnell not only has blocked fixing the Voting Rights Act for 2,603 days, 2 days today, but he refused in the first bills to pass the money that would be necessary to prepare the voting systems for an election of this kind. And still that's not under. Take 20 seconds and wrap this up.
This is a deliberate effort to prevent any improvement in the lives of people who are suffering in the tens of millions. And it is disproportionately people of color, black people, brown people, indigenous people, women, old people, and children. This notion that you said a few minutes ago, Reverend Barber, that if you want to know how a country is functioning, how a country treats its people, look at the children. 1 out of 5 children in our country have been hungry for the last 5 years. Now we're going to be looking at numbers that dwarf those outrages. This is an outrage. The wealthiest country in the world, we have 4% of the world's population and 22% of the cases and the deaths from this pandemic. That is a crime. And Mitch McConnell is the criminal that is enabling that crime to be committed.
That's right. And it only can really be, when you look at all of this, one reason behind it. You're afraid of losing power. You want to disrupt it so much so that the very people that can vote, combined black people, white people, brown people that are poor and low wealth, and who care about children, care about health care, care about unions, care about redirecting money for the military. I thought about that when you said about that plane, that F-55 or F whatever it is.
F-35.
F-35. It doesn't have.
It's the one that the Pentagon doesn't want.
Right, but it also it can't shoot COVID. It can't bomb COVID. If look, I'm talking country,
it doesn't feed hungry children.
It doesn't feed. I don't care if it breaks the sound of light. It's not going to do one thing to deal with COVID. And so we thank you for coming on today. It kills people. It becomes a weapon of death, and funding it becomes a weapon of death because you're keeping money away from people who would be kept alive. And that's what gets me about this. People are dying. I'm a preacher. Really, is the preacher. I have stood over people's death and caskets and said, I believe that the divine called them home. But people are dying. That has nothing to do with that part of my faith. This is straight up policy murder where people are dying who do not have to die. And that's why we have to jam. That's why we have to raise all the sand, all the hell, all the heaven, whatever you want to say. We have to raise it today on this call and continue it, and then register people to vote. Thank you, Phyllis. Come back. Be ready now. Set your calendar. You and John. Ready. I'm going to let Liz talk to you next time because she looks like she's ready to do that. I can see it in her eyes. But we want to play that tape right now where he called himself, because we said he was the Grim Reaper, and a couple of folks said, how dare you call Mitch McConnell the Grim Reaper? I was just repeating what he said. So can y'all pop that in real quick? Then we're going to go to Bill Lucy and Mark Thompson and one other person, and we'll be out. Yara, right after the Grim Reaper, if you can sing then, just give us a quick, strong, we need to hear your voice calling us to action in this moment. Play that video.
Are we still going to be a competitive place? Are we still going to be the kind of place where you can realize your ambitions and your energy? But if you aren't able to do that, there's still ways to lead a rewarding life. Or are we going to turn this into a socialist country? Don't assume it cannot happen. It'll all be in the hands, I think, of the voters of this country next year. If you share my view, and I hope you do, that that's not what we want America to be like in the future, let me tell you this. If I'm still the majority leader of the Senate, think of me as the Grim Reaper. None of that stuff is going to pass. None of it. So, we got a big job to do next year. Obviously, if we get the House back, that takes care of it. If the president gets reelected, that takes care of it. But I guarantee you, if I'm the last man standing and I'm still the majority leader, it ain't happening. I promise you it's not happening.
Voters, voting rights, it ain't happening. Living wages, it ain't happening. Union rights, it's not happening. Taking care of our public schools and children, it ain't happening. Well, Mr. McConnell don't have the last word. The people can still speak. We can speak now, we can speak at the polls, and we better, because he's already told us exactly where he stands. I am, he said, the Grim Reaper. But we are the people of life, the people of hope, and the people of power. And many others who thought they were the singular power have tried to take on the people and failed. And it's time for it to happen again. Yara, help us in this moment.
We have to keep our eyes on the prize. As Roland said, we have to be relentless. As Reverend Barber said, we just have to keep fighting and fighting and fighting. So let's sing this together. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on, hold on, keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Paul and Silas were bound in jail, had no money to go their bail. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Paul and Silas thought they were lost. Dungeons shook and the chains fell off. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Well, there's one chain that we can stand. That's the chain of hand in hand. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Here's one thing I know we got right. We stood up and we started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Here's one thing that we did wrong. Stay just silent a little too long. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. But I know this is what we did right. We stood up and we started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Keep it. Sing it back when I sing it to you. Hold on, hold on. That's it. Hold on.
Hold on.
Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
Right.
Yara, it sounds like you're ready to fight and ready to hold on. That's our national theomusicologist, Miss Yara Allen. who's coming to us, reminding us every battle we have to fight, we have to hold on, we have to keep our hands together. We just have a few more minutes to go. I want to take 5 minutes and bring on Bill Lucy and Mark Thompson. While they're coming up, I want you to go to the bottom, click on it. Also go to www.poorpeoplescampaign.org and make sure that you're telling people to go there. You're calling the number. Keep doing it. The website tells you exactly how to take the action. Rob, you have something you need to say? No. All right. Rob is the cause of most of this, and between him and Reverend Jackson. So we want to put it all on there. Give credit where credit is due. But we really need you all to take it. Can I get some, like the thousands that are out there? What's going on? What's going on?
Reverend Liz, do you know that you might know? I know we are in London, not in England, but in London, Kentucky.
We're still leaving messages in London right now and in Fort Wright, but we've shut down 5 or 6 offices, and we need the calls to keep on coming in.
Come on, bring them on. And I understand we have thousands of people who are tuned in to the live stream. And am I right about that? Thousands of people, and people are still tuning in. So come on. Let's do this today. Well, we've got Bill Lucy. Bill Lucy is one of our heroes. He walked with Dr. King. He was there when Nelson Mandela was released from prison. He fought for years to help do that. And so did Reverend Mark Thompson, who helped to lead the boycotts for day in and day out in Washington, D.C., protesting against apartheid. And I want both of them to come on, if I can see them on the screen, and talk a little bit about why this focus, the Poor People's Campaign focus, to take on McConnell and not allow him to hide, and call people to challenge him with this old style sit-in, with this New Jack City twist call-in, but then to also register to vote and move in these Senate seats across the country and in Kentucky. Why is it? Bill, you've been at this for a little while. I know you're still young and all that, but Bill, from your experience, why is this so important that we take this on in this moment?
Brother Lucy is working on the unmute.
Okay, he'll be there. Hey, Mark, are you on?
I am on.
Oh, there's Bill.
I think we got Bill now. Yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
Just want to start by saying what we're confronted with now is really one of the great contradictions in this nation, both policy, both social policy and economic policy. We've got a majority leader of the Senate, which is both a co-partner and a co-conspirator in the harm and danger that's been brought to the country. When we think of great leaders of the Senate, McConnell's name will not be among them. He has really, by his inaction, really participated in the injury and tragedy that has been brought down on the heads of millions and millions of people. To be out of the mix, to be a non-participant as this nation struggles with one of the great tragedies of its history, is really not fulfilling the charge and responsibility of the office that he holds. To talk about $600 a week causing people not to go to work because they're doing too good. That is the ultimate contradiction in economic policy. Here's a guy who really led the charge to bring some $2.3 trillion to people who didn't need it. He now argues about whether or not folks who are about to be evicted from their homes, who can't pay their bills, who can't find a job, can't go back to their old job. And he says $600 is too plush a payment for them. Yet he will not carry out his responsibility and simply bring to the table those issues that 75 or 80% of the American public says it needs just to survive this pandemic. I mean, to think about essential workers, those are workers who got to go to work. He says to give them a few bucks is too much. They won't go to work if they won't go to work because they're scared to go to a job that's not protected in terms of safety, has no indication of the health considerations that they need. I'm saying to every member of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, every member of organized labor in those essential jobs, retail, industrial, that get on the telephone and call McConnell's office. And you don't want him to perform miracles, just do his job. bring those pieces of legislation that the country as a whole has said is in the best interest of the country, bring them to the table and let people vote on it. Even those who don't believe in it, let them vote they don't believe in it. He is incredible. I would call at this point an unindicted co-conspirator along with 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for letting this panic continue to impact on the general public. And we who are the, I guess, the beneficiaries of their dysfunction, we've got to put the heat on and keep the heat on until people who have been elected to Congress, both the Senate and the House, do the job they were elected to do.
Well, Bill, I like the way unindicted co-conspirator, and historically, you're right. Even the bad leaders of the Senate were more involved than he is. I mean, he just puts it in the drawer, won't allow a vote, won't allow it to be voted down or up, and then just goes away. But he stays focused on the Supreme Court. He stays focused on putting bad people on the courts, many of them who don't even believe in fundamental civil rights. And he certainly focuses on making sure, and I'm glad you brought up that number, $2 to $3 trillion that went to the corporation, which is one of the reasons why the stock market is still up.
Absolutely.
You know, it used to be if the stock market was up, it would be a little bit that would trickle down. Now the stock market is up because they're holding it up with our dollars and those trillions of dollars, but everything else is falling apart.
The stock market, Reverend, is up because they have taken the money out of the pockets of working people already, put it in the stock market, for which working people as a whole do not own a part of. 45, maybe 48% of the stocks on the market are held by folks, but 52% of it is by people who own nothing. So the market is no indication of their economic well-being.
That's right.
And I think there's something happening out across this country. Let me just say that. I think people are finally becoming aware that they have been really conditioned to suffer collectively and struggle individually. That is changing. Young people from one end of this country to the other decide, this is not the country I want to be in. I want to do whatever I can do to change it. And we can start that by getting on the telephone and calling McConnell's office and say the moment of truth has come.
That's right.
And we're going to fight to change the nature of our relationship to our government. And we're seeing it all across the country. And if I could just have one more commercial, we saw it in Tennessee 2 or 3 days ago when an average everyday young person won a primary to go to a general election and represent the interests of basic working people. That's what we're seeing.
That's right. And she acknowledges that she would work and went to training sponsored by the Poor People's Campaign. That's the call from our right. We never told her to run, but when she got hold of these agendas, she said, I got to run. And she won. And now she's in the agenda. That she didn't just run, she won on these very issues. Mark, we got about a minute or so, minute and a half or so. But, man, we've been talking about third Reconstruction for a long time. But you've been on it. You've been saying for a long time, we can't just focus on Trump. Trump, yes. But we cannot leave off this Senate. We cannot leave off what McConnell has done. And I want you to talk, because we got people on from Kentucky, from all over this country who are calling in by the thousands. But, Doc, from your perspective, talk to us, Mark.
Well, God bless you all. Good to see so many friends. Again, you, Reverend Barber, you, Dr. Jackson, and Reverend Liz, whom I adore, and always good to be on with a mentor to us all, Bill Lucy.
That's
you know, what is despicable about this at this particular moment and why people need to call is because McConnell and Senate Republicans have said they don't want to extend unemployment benefits because people are lazy, and it gives people a disincentive to work. And that's absurd. What they're really doing is expanding the roles of those who are impoverished beyond the 140 million that you and Reverend Liz have been preaching about these many months. And where does that come from? As they uphold the Confederate statues and the spirit of the Confederacy, that notion of work and laziness and people needing to work harder because they're so lazy and work for nothing comes directly out of slavery. Then that mentality was exported to Germany, where Hitler studied it and implemented it. That is why the concentration camps said on the gates coming in, Arbeit macht frei, which meant work sets you free. I had Jason Stanley on my show on Friday, and he wrote a book called How Fascism Works. And we drew a direct line between what happened in fascist America during slavery, what happened in fascist Germany during the Holocaust, and what is happening right here now today with Mitch McConnell. And here's the irony in all of that, saying we aren't working hard enough, saying we don't deserve unemployment benefits, while Mitch McConnell doesn't work at all. He doesn't do his job. The function of the Senate Republicans is precisely to make the government dysfunctional. So while they're attacking us saying we don't want to work, they aren't doing a doggone thing at work every day. They aren't passing bills. They aren't helping this country. They aren't rescuing people. And then Mitch McConnell and then figure out a way to award his own wife's family almost $1 million in PPP money. So if none of this makes you all pick up the phone, I don't know what will. Saw you last week, my brother. I like the New Jack City tone. We need to be about this New Jack City. Pick up the phone and make that call.
That's right. Slave master mentality, same thing the slave masters did. Slaves, you work for nothing. We sit back and benefit from it. It's just being brought forward. And I love that piece. We're no longer going to suffer individually, as Brother Lucy has said. And this is how we have to probe racism too, Mark. It's important what you said as we get ready to close. We can't let racism be limited to police violence, as ugly, as horrendous, as horrible as it is, because if we're about dealing with death, we have to deal with how these other policies are killing people. And we have to let white people and other people know when leaders like McConnell are using racist tactics against you. Using racism against, this is a racist tactic that he's using to harm white workers and black workers and brown workers and gay workers and straight workers and female workers. And when we call it out, we have a phrase in the movement. Somebody's hurting our brothers and sisters. It's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore, and forward together, not one step back. That is why it is so important. I don't care if he doesn't change. I know we have the power to change. Enough people gather together, even like this, we can force him to the action, because he worries about his persona. And particularly if we call him what he is, if we say this is racism, this is fascism, this is ugly, get the children to call, get everybody to call. We're going to be here every Monday, but you don't have to wait till Monday. If we do this and do this and do this, but let's just say he doesn't. Let's just say he doesn't. Well, then let these calls to his office turn into votes at the polls. And not just in Kentucky, but all over this country. Because there's one or two ways you can see somebody get retired from a job. I won't say go out of office. Get retired from a job when they're a majority leader. You can either make them leave or change their majority. I'm just saying. And the Poor People's Campaign put out today that in 15 states, poor people, if they vote at just 1 to 19% higher than the last time, can determine Senate races in 15 states in America. We have power. It's time to use that power. Now, I don't know if our dear sister Paula Peretti was able to make it today. Well, she was not able to make it. She was an actor that was going to come on and join her. We'll get her back the next time. But listen, it's 5 o'clock. We're going to leave you with a music video, a revival tent music during the 40 days. It was led by Yara and Sharon and others. Erica's going to put it up. The team's going to put it up. But the calls don't have to stop, right, Rob? Keep on. Go to that site, www.poorpeoplescampaign.org. Keep going, keep going, keep going. How many calls have we made already, Rob? You know?
I know we're certainly past 3,000 so far. We're in Bowling Green. And just so everyone knows, last week what they did is the second we turned off this live stream, they opened up back the lines. They thought they could fool us. So keep calling even tonight. Some of their offices are in Central, and they're going to be there. And just it's amazing that they have 8 open offices when millions are facing eviction right now. Anyway.
That's right. That's right. Call on the West Coast. Call. Keep calling. Share this. It's up. It's recorded. You can keep sharing it. Keep sharing it. Keep sharing it. We have tens of thousands of people on the line who tuned in for the live stream. Now we need tens of thousands of you to make calls. Do not get frustrated because you get a busy signal. That means it's working. Just keep calling, keep registering, leave messages, emails, keep calling, leave messages, keep going on. This is an old style sit-in with a New Jack City twist. It's called the National Moral Monday March on McConnell. Call in digital sit-in on his meanness, his mayhem, and his misery. We're out with this music. We'll be back on next Monday at 3:30. Take care now. Forward together, not one step back. Love you.
Not one step back.
Oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on. I tell you, it's gone on. Oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on. And we won't be silent anymore. Oh, somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone.